This is Ogtv News with me, Mujisala Shulaja. Top on our stories. Ogun State begins collation of 20,000 jobs under special public works. ECOWAS gives 12-month deadline for Mali's return to democratic rule. Lagos mishap claims 2 lives. Japan's Prime Minister steps down.
And on sport news tonight, NBA players franchises agree to resume playoffs. This and more sporting stories much later on the news. My name is Moses or Jewumi. Stay with us.
All great truth begin as blasphemies. The Ogun State Selection Committee of the Federal Government's Public Works Program has commenced its collation process for 20,000 applicants in the state during the collation exercise held at the Conference Hotel, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Senator Gbenga Obadara, who chairs the State Selection Committee, lauded the transparency process adopted from the federal level aimed at reducing poverty in the country. Ife Sholade has the details.
The Special Public Works Program, an initiative of the federal government and anchored by the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, is an intervening measure meant to curtail the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the nation's workforce. Ogun State Selection Committee of the program, under the chairmanship of Senator Gbenga Obadara, commenced the collation exercise of its 236 wards meant for those in the age brackets of 18 and 50 years. Senator Obadara explains the modalities to achieving transparency and equal representation in selecting 20,000 unemployed youths and vulnerable in the state.
I'm sure you have seen the representatives of the 3 traditional councils in Ogun West, Ogun Central, in Ogun East. You can see all the 20 local governments are covered. You have seen the Yaloja there. You have seen the Khan and all the 20 local governments. You have seen the National Council of Supreme Islamic Supreme Council. You have seen them. You have seen quite everybody. Imagine we're only 20-member committee, and looking at 1,000 in each local government, that will tell you that one person cannot do it. That's why we are recruiting about 20%. Imagine Ogun State, we have 236 wards. So those graduates are the ones to really help not those wards.
He appreciates the efforts of subcommittee members in the registration procedures, stating that those yet to submit have the grace to do so until Monday, 31st August 2020.
We are saying all this thing, why? Because we want to give true reflection of what is going on. By and large, we are only representing 3 clusters remaining. The 9 have submitted. So we hope at the end of the day, all clusters will submit and will be able to deliver as expected.
Some of those present speak on how beneficial it would be to reducing unemployment, crime, and other social vices in the country.
As envisaged by the promoters of the program, is going to boost the economy. By the time someone is having 60,000 in 3 months, it's going to be different from having nothing in 3 months. And from that 60,000, he could probably make up something for himself.
Because of unemployment, if governments begin to do this continuously, I think we will reduce crime rate in the society. I appreciate the government for doing this.
They know that they will cater for their family. They won't go out, go and beg for anywhere to take their breakfast and the daily need. So everybody appreciate the effort of the government on them.
Each of the beneficiaries of the program will be paid 20,000 naira for the duration of 3 months to carry out public works. Ife Shulwade, Ogtv News.
Ogun State government has opened up the Professor T.O. Ogunlesi Model College, Oginjo, in order to MDAs are not using financial regulation and by this spending money that are not budgeted for, which it says was not in accordance with financial regulations.
109.8% across the 5 years under consideration, while other revenue streams achieved an average of 57% in the same period. That means we collect more from administrative charges.
All other fee on admission that they incur while on admission, other than the professional fee, which is the one in the first one, that is the medical consultancy fee. Okay. All other one, beddings for how long they stay on the bed, and some other bills are lumped into the administrative charges.
Honorable Lamidi, in company of other members of the committee, urged the management team to address all issues raised in the audit report, especially on the payment of insurance premium as the assets register for the agency.
CEO, the committee would like you to make available your bank statements 2015 to 2018. And we will need as well the bank reconciliation for those years.
The chairman further enjoined the medical director and financial officer of the hospital to ensure the provision of relevant documents to support all cost lines identified in the hospital accounts records to reflect the inflows and outflows of funds in the period under review. Respondent, the medical director, Olufemi Drojai, promised to provide the documents. The Benga Akiwande Foundation has commended the state government, led by Prince Dapo Abiodun, for his exceptional policies and programs towards ensuring economic sustainability of the citizenry. The president of the foundation stated this in a statement he personally signed to reawaken the consciousness of the state government to the social and economic challenges due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, to find a solution that will create an enabling environment for all and sundry. Engineer Kiwande also reflects that the current administration should continue to strengthen security apparatus in the 3 senatorial districts so as to curtail kidnapping coupled with herdsmen attacks that pose great danger to the people of the state. He also emphasized that it becomes necessary for the administration of Prince Dapo Abiodun to expedite actions on the taking off of the Amotekun security outfit to provide some relief to the people who are living presently in fears, particularly those in rural areas. And still in the news, ECOWAS holds extraordinary meeting over Mali political crisis. Details after the break. Welcome back. A team from the Radio, Television and Theatre Arts Workers Union
to relent. Adebola Oshomuji, Ogtv News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has described as welcoming the release of the ousted president of Mali, Ibrahim Keita, by the new military leaders, insisting, however, that the transition process in the country must carry along Malian stakeholders and be completed within 12 months. This, he said, is critical for the new government to enjoy the cooperation of regional and international community
of their country and the imminent danger which it poses to the citizens of Mali as well as of the ECOWAS sub-region. Mali cannot afford to stand alone. Hence the need to come to terms with the reality acceptable and workable transition compact which inspires the confidence of all Malians.
The president described as imperative that the flexibility is demonstrated by the military leaders as they negotiate the state of the country, taking into account the collective interest of the ECOWAS sub-region.
the immediate release of all the remaining senior government officials in detention without preconditions. A transition process to be completed in not more than 12 months, and the need for Mali's constitutional court to work hand in hand with all the Malian stakeholders to ensure an early and hitch-free return to democratic government through free, fair, and inclusive election.
It said Nigeria will, alongside ECOWAS, provide the necessary logistic support to facilitate the conduct of the elections towards re-establishing democratic governance in Mali. To effectively deal with the southern Kaduna crisis, the Buhari administration will not sweep the major issues of the conflict under the carpet. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, gave this assurance at the ongoing Nigerian Bar Association's annual General Conference during a special conversation featuring him and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. The assurance includes ensuring justice, fixing economic marginalization, and the prosecution of persons responsible for murders in order to ensure and to end impunity, describing the killings in Kaduna as mindless, callous, and heartbreaking. The Vice President condoled with those who have lost loved ones and those injured or who have suffered loss of property, stressing that these tragedies are unacceptable and avoidable. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Zubairu Dada, has admonished the newly inaugurated 14-member ad hoc committee on the establishment of Diaspora Investment Trust Fund to work assiduously and justify the confidence reposed in them by making recommendations that will be of good help to the mission and objectives of the fund. In a statement authorized by the head of Media, Public Relations and Protocol Unit, Gabriel Odu, the minister asked the committee to submit its report in the next 1 month. While inaugurating the committee, Ambassador Dada enjoined them to, among other things, advise the government on the structure of the fund, especially a private sector-led and driven by the Nigerians in diaspora. He further urged them to advise the government on the sources and value of the fund, the processes for the procedure for its establishment, the procedure and guidelines for accessing the fund and its utilization, the fund managers, management, and any other issues pertinent to the realization and establishment of the fund. Earlier, the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, had expressed delight that the committee is being established, the first ever in the history of Nigeria, an outcome of the first Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit held in 2018. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, asserted the Nigerian government is deeply concerned by the incessant harassment of its citizens in Ghana and the progressive act of hostility towards the country by Ghanaian authorities, and will no longer tolerate such. The federal government said it is urgently considering a number of options aimed at ameliorating the situation. A statement signed by the minister revealed that the federal government has been documenting the act of hostility towards Nigeria and Nigerians by the Ghanaian authorities, which include seizures of the Nigerian mission's property, which the Nigerian government has used as diplomatic premises for almost 50 years. This action is as concerning Nigerians resident in Ghana by the Ghanaian media is fueling an emerging xenophobic attitude towards Nigerian traders and Nigerians in general. Mohammed, however, said the federal government would like to put on record the fact that even though over 1 million Ghanaians are resident in Nigeria, they are not being subjected to the kind of hostility being meted out to Nigerians in Ghana. A helicopter operated by Quorum Aviation, a helicopter operated by Quorum Aviation has crashed in the Ogtv area of Lagos State. The helicopter dropped from the sky around 12 noon and crashed into a residential building on Salvation Road in Ogtv. The General Manager, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Olufemi Okeosonyintolu, said 2 persons died in the crash, while another was injured and was rushed to Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. Meanwhile, the Accident Investigation Bureau, the investigating body in charge of all aviation-related accidents and incidents in Nigeria, said it has begun an investigation to unravel circumstances that led to the crash. AIB General Manager, Public Affairs, Tuji Oketumbi, who disclosed this, said the Bureau will issue a formal report on the accident. President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday commiserated with friends and relatives of victims of the helicopter crash in Ogtv, Lagos State. In a 2-paragraph statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president prayed to God to console the bereaved and heal the injured. An Ondo State High Court sitting in Akure on Friday dismissed the suspension of 4 members of the State House of Assembly. The House suspended the lawmakers some weeks ago following their alleged involvement in gross misconduct. In his judgment, the judge, Justice Ademola Bola, ruled that the action of the House was illegal and held that the lawmakers must be reinstated into their positions with immediate effect. The constituency office of Honorable Kolawole Lawal has been commissioned with commendation for quality representation of Egbado South, Ipokia Federal Constituency by the people. The constituency office, located in Okeodon, will further help him bring him closer to his people and serve them better. Matthew Shulmi reports.
In his determination to affect the lives of the people positively by providing quality representation, Honorable Kola Lawal, Chairman House Committee on Ethics and Privileges, hopes to bring lawmaking closer to his people, take input from them, and reach out to them at all times with his constituency office. The commissioning ceremony was kick-started with a short program at the community center in Okeodon, Ipokia Federal Constituency, at the House of Representatives. He says he has been doing his best to proudly and fairly utilize the mandate of the people for the common good of the constituency.
Anytime I stood up on the floor of the House chamber, I usually feel the weight of the expectation of my spirit. Since I know the duty which has resolved and prepare to be continuing to discharge practically with your support and encouragement. I continue to serve the pedestal of your trust and firmly believe in me on shoulders of all our resources, in office.
Royal Father of the Day, Olokeodon of Okeodon, Oba Olurotimi Fagbenro, describes the choice of Honorable Lawal as the representative of the people as the best, given what has so far been witnessed in his constituency.
Even before he became a well-known politician, he has been contributing and playing vital roles in our developmental efforts.
There were goodwill messages from dignitaries present.
We have done well. We have carried just 1 year those incursions which we have made to secure better life for our people, especially on this road. It's commendable.
Having a constituency office is a testimony that he has not forgotten his root.
Honorable Lawal was then joined by dignitaries for the official commissioning of the building. He thereafter
and today attained the age of 67. Ogtv News in this report chronicles the profile of the former Chief Judge of the state who took charge of judiciary from 2011 until her retirement in 2018. Shemilori Makonju has the details. Apologists will bring you details in the course of the bulletin. Moving ahead, workplace sexual harassment, which is a manifestation of sex-based discrimination and violation of human rights is becoming a massive problem globally. Thousands of women and men, but predominantly women, are constantly harassed by their employers and colleagues through unwelcome verbal or physical conduct of harassment that is pervasive. In this special report, Moyoluwa Ajayi examines the causes and effects of workplace sexual harassment and the way out. Her report is presented in this package.
A persistent problem in the workplace globally. Sexual harassment can be unwelcomed actions and gestures, and it occurs when there is a threat of losing jobs or opportunities.
In Nigeria, we feel sexual harassment only relates to rape, but also asking for sexual favors from someone who is not interested in exchange for any form of promotion or any other form of advancement is sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment is an unwelcome sexual behavior. It can be offensive, humiliating, and intimidating.
People in higher positions tend to harass their subordinates, especially those they consider sexually attractive. Also, some colleagues are fond of body shaming or making a discourse of the body parts of others. This is considered as sexual harassment.
Although more than 75 countries have legislation prohibiting sexual harassment in the workplace, it remains pervasive and underreported.
Another thing that causes sexual harassment is misuse of power. Most bosses, male bosses in authority, feel like they can get away with anything, so they feel like they can use their power to get all sorts of sexual gains.
Indecent dressing, especially by the female staff. Wearing half-naked clothes to work can cause sexual harassment. Favor from superior boss. You need a favor badly from your boss. Inappropriate touching some parts of the body that are offensive.
The effects this sexual harassment has on workplace is that, number one, decreased job satisfaction, 2, loss of job or promotions, and 3, unfavorable performance evaluation.
Workplace sexual harassment can have very serious consequences for the harassed individual and the company productivity.
Victims go through emotional stress of dealing with it, which can result in reduced productivity. Victims should be able to report to the management or a higher authority, issuing warnings and imposing harsh sanctions.
And self-esteem. You may lose concentration at work. Also, talk to someone about it.
Even the catcalling as well as lewd jokes makes the individual uncomfortable and unable to perform their job as effectively as they can. The first thing is a better regulatory framework. We need laws to be put in place concerning sexual harassment, especially in the workplace. There are no laws that consider unnecessary touching or making lewd comments.
To curb workplace sexual harassment, respondents urged governments and companies to publicize strong policies against sexual harassment and establish a complaints process that protects workers from retaliation.
Let's now bring you the profile of the former Chief Judge of
recognized even at the Court of Appeal. So you can see the quality of work, the quality of justice that is being dispensed in Ogun State.
In August 2018, she retired from service. She's a recipient of the National Honor, Commander of the Order.
Business news. Nigeria's foreign capital inflows dropped by 78%. The segment comes up next. This is the business segment of the news. Foreign capital inflows into Nigeria fell by 78% to $1.29 billion in the second quarter of this year from $5.85 billion in first quarter, the National Bureau of Statistics said on Friday. The NBS in its capital importation report for second quarter 2020 said the total value of capital importation into the country in the period represented a decrease of 77.88% to 2019. It said foreign 20.65% to $148.59 million from $10.25 million in first quarter 2020. The Central Bank of Nigeria has prohibited parent companies or any other related entities of a payment service banks from offering any preferential treatment which negates fair competition to its subsidiaries. This was contained in a circular signed by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, CBN, Kevin Amuga. The CBN said it reviewed the PSB guidelines to update the earlier circular released on October 3, which renders services to its PSB must extend similar services to other entities on the same terms and conditions by ensuring that all intra-group transactions were at arm's length, the Apex Bank said. That concludes the business segment of the news. Another unrest as people hold protest in Washington over Wilkinson shooting. Join us shortly for the world today. On the world today, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has resigned over health reasons. Also, March on Washington event holds amid unrest over shooting of Jacob Blake in Wilkinson. Let's now join Olayinka Shodunke for details.
Nigerian actress Mercy Johnson is celebrating.
The agreement was announced a day after players, coaches, and team governors had a candid discussion regarding the next steps to further collective efforts and actions in support of social justice and racial equality. As part of the agreement, the NBA and its players will establish a social justice coalition that will focus on a broad range of issues, including increasing access to voting, promoting civic engagement, and advocating for meaningful police and criminal justice reform. And now to football stories. Brazil centre-back Thiago Silva has signed for Chelsea on a year deal with the option of another. The 35-year-old has joined the Blues on a free transfer, having left Paris Saint-Germain after the Champions League final defeat on 23rd August. Elsewhere in England, Crystal Palace have completed a signing of Eberechi Eze from QPR for a fee that could rise to £20 million. Eze, who scored 14 goals in 46 appearances in the Sky Bet Championship for QPR last season, had also attracted interest from Fulham, West Ham and Newcastle, but has signed a 5-year deal at Selhurst Park. Manchester United defender Harry Maguire says he feared for his life after plainclothes officers arrested him in Mykonos, Greece. The English defender also believes he does not owe any apology following the incident that led to his arrest.
It was horrible. It's not something I ever want to do again. I don't wish it on anybody. I don't feel like I owe an apology to anybody. An apology is something when you've done something wrong. Do I regret? I regret being in the situation.
And to Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp has ruled out a move for Barcelona forward Lionel Messi, but admit the Argentine would be great for the Premier League. Messi's future has been surrounded by speculations since asking to leave Barca, but Klopp says there is no chance he will join the English champions. Messi has been linked with a reunion with former Barca boss Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, something Klopp says will obviously help his team. And now to Formula One. Max Verstappen finished a promising fastest for Red Bull on an intriguing opening day of practice at the Belgian GP, while Mercedes were also behind Daniel Ricciardo for prize package Renault. Ferrari, expecting a difficult weekend here from dominating at Spa, finished in lowly 15th and 17th positions, a world away from their usual rivals of recent years. Mercedes remain favourites for the weekend, but Verstappen nonetheless is the front in the afternoon with a best lap. But it was Ricciardo's second place finish for Renault, which proved the session's biggest surprise, with the Australian just 0.48 seconds back on Verstappen's pace. And that's it on Sport News. Back to Mojisola.
Thank you so much, Moses. Retired Rear Admiral Olufemi Olumide has been described as an
of Navy administration and engineering of our time, Rear Admiral Olufemi